Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this part of the Custom Mode VPC lab, where we're going to create a custom role and service account. So in the last part, we just created this shell of the VPC, but haven't configured it with any firewall rules or anything. And we're still not going to get to the firewall rules quite yet. This time, we're going to go to the IAM section in the console, and in particular, we're going to go to the roles. Now this roles browser is actually quite interesting, and you can click on any of the roles and see which permissions it includes. But what we want to do right now is we want to filter this table so that it only shows us the roles that include writer in their title. And in particular, we want to select the logs writer and the monitoring metric writer. As I'm sure you can guess from their name, these roles will allow the instances to write both logs and metrics to Stackdriver. When we've selected these two roles, it shows us what the combined permissions are that they include, and it has a really handy button at the top that says Create Role from Selection. That's what we're going to do now. In this case, I'm going to call this the base GCE role. The reason I'm doing this is so that I can use this custom role for any service account that I want. My plan here is to have multiple service accounts, and I don't want to have to grant each of those roles to each of the service accounts. If I create one combined role like this, then that single role can be granted to each of the individual service accounts, and I can make any additions that I need in just one place. Now, before we move on, I would like to point out that one of the drawbacks of doing this with a combined role instead of granting the roles individually is that we are now grabbing the list of permissions that exist in those roles as of today. If Google winds up adding additional permissions to those roles, our combined role will not include those new permissions. That is a drawback, but it's really not that bad either, because there's still only one place that we would have to update: this base GCE role. I'm also going to update this role's ID to match its title. Now, you can manage custom roles through a lifecycle, but we don't really need to do that at the moment, so we're just going to set the role launch stage to general availability. Scrolling down, this is again the list of permissions, which is what we want, so we'll say Create. Here's our base GCE role, and we could update it if we need to. But now that we've got this role, let's go over to the service accounts. We could either use or edit this default service account, but we want to have a little bit more control and scope it down, so I'm actually just going to delete this service account now. There's a big warning to make sure that you really do want to delete it, but in this case, we're setting things up the way we want it, so yes, we are sure. Paste the service account email into the box, and say delete. There it is, it's gone. So now let's create the service account that we actually want. And I'm going to call this service account frontend-sa. It's a good habit to describe every resource that you create, so I'm just going to say service account for front-end servers, and now we can say create. Well, the service account has now been created, but it doesn't have any privileges yet. So here's where we get to select the role. We could either find the custom role in the list, or type something to filter it, but in any case, we just want this base GCE role. We say continue, and now that policy has been updated. If we wanted individual users to be able to use this service account, or if we wanted systems outside of GCP to be able to use it, that's where we might use the options on this page. But we don't need to do either of those, so we can say Done. Well, that's all we needed to do to set up the IAM stuff that we need for our lab, so we're now ready to move on to the next part. I'll see you there.